Hello out there, all you bucks and buckaroos. This is Dave, old Buck Dave, that is, and I'm
And this
here with
old Buck Dell.
old Buck Dale. Dale is still remote. He's remote physically, but he's always here in our hearts.
I'm always
So
out there.
always out there. So where are you from today, Dale? I mean,
Uh,
I've been getting all these expense reports from you. They're starting to mount up.
I had to leave in the middle of the night from the last place because I found out they want money for these places. So
That's when you were up on the roof, or
so I am not telling you where I'm at because
okay.
they could locate me.
It's
So I'm
probably
out there.
just as well. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, we got enough problems keeping you in the witness protection program.
Oh gee.
Gosh, yeah.
So what's up?
I know you got a big idea that you wanted to talk to me about, but I just I just watched this on the news, and it's just too bizarre to make up. So I wanted to share this with you. Okay, now so I'm watching the local news today, just a little bit ago, and a reporter was doing a story on a rat infestation in a vacant house. And he's going through this and that. And then he said, the rats regularly came out and, now listen to this, and crossed the road to get to the other side. What's that tell you?
Yeah, that's a question to me. What's that tell you?
It could be a question, yeah.
Clearly they didn't like living in that
They
house.
crossed the road to get to the other side, just like a chicken. Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the? And here's a news story, and he's talking about the rats crossing the road to get to the
Did
other
he offer
side.
a solution to that?
He was so deadpan straight about it. That was scary.
I mean, he
So
didn't say why they went to the other side, why they
he
were there.
didn't say. He didn't say.
You must
That
have
was the
listened to him.
story.
Sounds like a man
Maybe
from Florida.
maybe I missed that. I think that TV station needs an editor or producer or something. Anyway, that was just too good to pass up.
And they went to the other side. There you go.
They went to the other side. Yeah. All right. Enough of that. Enough frivolity. Tell us about this big idea you have. You've been dangling this in front of me now for a couple of days without telling me anything.
Well, remember I was telling you once. I said, as a boy, when there was a little bit of trouble that you had to account for, somebody always says, "Well, who was it came up with that big idea?"
Yeah.
Yeah, whose big idea?
Whose
Whose big
great idea
idea?
was that?
Yeah, whose big idea was that? Clearly, it was something foolish. But sometimes I have really big ideas, and as normal, even though we are talking to our listener. Uh,
Maybe there's two now. Come on.
yeah, well, even if there's two, it wouldn't matter who.
Our Canadian listener came back. I got a letter from Canada, so
What?
we might,
Well, there you go. So
so we're
it's that
back
kind
up
of
to
thing.
yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So listen. This is the thing, and I think everybody should understand that this, the, despite the fact that we're actually talking to each other, sort of broadcasting or podcasting, this same conversation happened many, many times when it was just the two of us. This is always what's so funny about it. I mean, I would bring the same questions to you, and we would laugh just
I
as
would
much
shake
about
my head.
yeah or whatever. But I mean, we didn't have to be on air to do this. Okay, so I'm always thinking about a big idea. Well, my first big idea is that during these troubled times, I've been trying to call big corporations. I got stuck trying to talk to a tax preparer, and I told you about my cable exploits where I
Oh
tried to
yeah,
call those guys.
yeah.
So I'm
Filling
thinking,
filling the hole in the ground.
so if anybody's listening, I think someone could either start. I don't know if you could do with an app, but somehow where you could sign up with this company and say, we know a little bit about these things. We know how to run that tax program. We know what usually happens when you call
Okay,
for these
okay.
issues, and just just say sign up for us with us, pay $3 a month or something during this period or whatever the case, and we'll answer the questions
We'll answer.
because we won't, we'll actually have people. We'll pick up the phone and we'll be able to answer these questions. So I thought, well, I
Uh,
could do that with the tax program. Once you learn how to use it.
oh, okay. You could be like the tax consultant. Is that what you're saying here?
Not a consultant. It's like you would be able to explain to them how to get into the program, or what tab to pull down to find that, or
Oh,
something about
okay.
the mechanism, how it works. Most of the problems you call
Kind
into
of
or
a
something.
facilitator, huh?
Yeah, even when they tell you to reboot reboot your Comcast machine or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wait 2 hours to get through to them just to have them say, "Hey, unplug it and plug it back in again." So
Yeah, jeez. Well, you know, I mean,
that might be a necessary idea rather than
uh,
just a big idea.
that sounds like a good one. I mean, just think about it. You know, all the times we've been put on hold.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was trying to get a medical bill sorted out today. True story. First place
So
I called sent me to the second place. Another company, another company absolved themselves of any responsibility, and sent me to the main insurance company, and I was on hold for a while, and the guy finally he sent me back to the first place. I said, "No, I've already been there." So I see an opportunity there as well. Yeah.
well, everybody that gets on hold, it seems like they just don't staff enough people for the amount of business or amount of questions they have to, people are going to ask. And nowadays, I was trying to check on the opening and closing of a museum. I could not get to a real live person. They're just all recordings,
Oh yeah.
always referred to the internet. And all I wanted to do was ask them when were you going to open this thing up again or something, and how could I get in there? But
You can't yell at them. It doesn't do any good. They're not real. Yeah. Yeah.
there's nothing to say to them. So I think
Yeah.
maybe there's a potential. Maybe somebody
Yeah.
will
Well,
come up with a waiting app where you
Yeah.
where you use
Maybe
the app.
that could
The
be
app that,
us.
hey, Dave, you're right. That's
That could
you
be
can you
us.
haven't you can right.
That could be us.
We
Think
have an
about it.
app.
Yeah.
I agree. We have an app. We call in. The app just keeps dialing and dialing or doing what it does. And then finally, a couple hours later, when they pick up the phone, the app reconnects you and you go about your business, not even thinking about it. You know what I mean? You don't have,
Perfect. Perfect. Something else we could do. I mean, we could be on hold for these people, and a monthly retainer. I don't think $3 is enough though. I think.
to be on hold for 2 hours for every call. That's true. That's
Yeah.
quite
We
possible
we
too.
could we,
Somebody's
we
going to
could
pick this up.
they could route it to us for the hold. So we'd be there for an hour and a half, whatever, charging our rate, and then when a human actually came, we could route it back to them. I don't know.
I think that has potential. Somebody's going to come
Is
up
that a
with that.
good idea or a bad idea? I don't know.
I think someone, well, here's even a bigger idea.
We could
This is
franchise it. We could franchise it.
work from
I'm
home.
sorry. Work from home. Everybody's working from home already. Go ahead. What was your big?
Listen to
I'm
here's
sorry.
this is even
This is a
bigger.
real big idea.
No, this is even bigger. So I'm thinking about, for some reason, they were talking about this Mars rover thing. And they said it took 7 months to get there and they're all this money and time and everything. I said, you know, I'm an old man. I said, what am I going to do? I have 7 months to spare.
You got 7 months. You got time to kill.
That's right. I'll just go there, and if I didn't want to come back, I'll send it back to them. So this, of course, my mind is going now crazy on this. I'm thinking, gee, all this time they've been doing this, and even today I saw a program about rockets, and America's been building for 10 years some kind of a super huge, bigger than that Saturn rocket to go to Mars. And I said, all the junk they set up there, why don't they just send up little pieces at a time and hook them together like a bunch of Legos? And it would have been, the rocket had been sitting up there ready to jump in and fly over. So I said, that's all they should have been doing. Every time they send a piece up, go over to the space station and hook it together and let it float up there until you got enough, a mile and a half of it stuck together, and just send that puppy up and go.
Send that puppy to Mars.
So I'm on it, right?
You're on it. Okay.
I volunteer to go because
right.
I only have so many more years to live anyhow, so I might as well go.
So what do you plan to do during these 7 months that you're there on the ship?
Well, I mean, I can play solitaire on my, on my iPad.
You're not going to have a good
like
Wi-Fi connection up there, I'll tell you that.
Well, immediately my mind starts to go this way and that way. And I'm thinking, holy smokes, I probably need some company. So
I ain't going. Not going.
No,
Sorry.
so we could find a girlfriend or maybe a wife or something.
Okay.
So now there'd be two of us, and we're going to go. And,
oh yeah, okay.
And then I'm thinking about about 4.5 months into the thing, we have an argument, and she wants to go home.
She wants to go home. She wants to go home to mom.
Right. She's done with this trip, and we're already tired of each other. So now they have to send up a counselor. You know what I mean?
Special rocket.
Special rocket has to come up and get a counselor to keep us together. So now we have 3 or 4 of us. So I figured with all the complications and everything, then pretty soon we'd need a medical attention, have to send a doctor up.
Another ship. Okay,
yeah, so pretty
ship.
Soon we would literally transfer all our problems and everything right to Mars, and it'd be worthless sending
it like
back.
Home.
That's right. Nobody want to go there anyhow because it's just as bad.
It'd be just the same. It'd be like Little Earth.
Yeah, little Earth. And so I said to myself, well, maybe they'll never accept my idea of building it piece by piece up in space. So they might as well make it into a mini series. I can see a comedy.
Mini series.
I can see a comedy that you could write out of that. But I thought too think about this, Dave. At least if you spend 7 months, you could sleep. You know, you wouldn't have to worry about the firmness of your bed.
I wish you'd sleep a little more. 6 a.m.
The 6 a.m. ideas.
6 a.m. ideas are killing me. I'll tell you.
That's my best thinking time.
That's a great idea. I like that idea.
Mini series. So that's a big idea. Sometimes I come up with other things. But
Dale does Mars.
Yeah, Dale volunteers to go to Mars.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, what else is there to do? Let's go to Mars, and
go to Mars.
Then we could just claim it or do something else that would be famous, and then who knows, if we had enough oxygen left, we could go somewhere else. We could
stay alive.
We could boldly go where no man has gone before.
I think they've used that line already. We're going to get in trouble here.
That's not
anyway.
I get it.
That's an interesting concept, I must say. I like it. I like it. I really like it.
All right. You hear that?
You tore it up.
You hear that?
Done.
Big idea. Finished.
Well, listen. Since we're talking about traveling, we're talking about traveling.
Yeah.
I was reminded of a travel story that I had. I did that Bolivia story here recently, and a couple people sent a little note in saying that they liked the story, found it interesting. They didn't really say enough to be inducted into the
Citizens with Alternative Opinions.
Communal. What is it?
Citizens representing alternative positions.
Citizens representing. Okay, yeah. But anyway.
So they actually know where Bolivia was and thought that was an interesting story.
I think they know. I think they knew. Yeah. But this is another Bolivia story. It just reminded me of that when this fella sent this to me today. So as I mentioned earlier, I traveled to La Paz several times, to meet with the tungsten miners there.
Mm-hmm.
And La Paz is up there, 11,000 feet or so, whatever it is. Very kind of a stark landscape. And they always said, "Oh, you should go to Santa Cruz one of these trips. Go to Santa Cruz. It's so different. It's right at the edge of the rainforest. It's a much, much lower elevation." So, as it turns out, I had a doctor, a specialist that I went to, and he saved my life, basically. He said, "Hey, I used to live in Santa Cruz." I'd talked to him about going down to La Paz at Saturday, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I should visit his brother sometime when I'm on one of my trips. So, when the next trip came up, I contacted him, and he gave me his brother's work address. His brother worked at the big bank there. He was some kind of wheel in the bank. He said he'd write his brother a letter, and he told me to write him a letter and let him know what day I was going to be there and that sort of thing, blah, blah, blah. And I remember this is like 1990. There's no email. All right.
Mm.
So I sent my letter a month in advance. And when the time came, I went down to La Paz. I did my business, flew to Santa Cruz, and I checked into my basic C-grade hotel since, this was on my tab. This wasn't the company's tab. This was quote vacation. So
you're brave.
It wasn't the Hilton.
Brave soul. You're a brave soul.
Hilton. And so the next morning, I walked downtown. I found his bank. I went in, and receptionist there. So I said, "Oh, I've got an appointment with Mr. Ponte," and she took me to his office. And I introduced myself. I said, I'm Dave from Pittsburgh, blah, blah, blah. Your brother was my doctor. He wrote you a letter. I wrote you a letter. I said I'd be here this day. And he just stared at me. And then he said, I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. So I started explaining again, and he said, just stop. And I didn't know if he was going to call security, thought I was a wacko or something. And just then a woman walked into the room, into his office, with the mail of the day. So he shuffles through, and he pulls this letter out, and he starts reading this letter, and then he's looking at me, and he looks back at the letter, and he looks up at me again. He looks back at the letter. That was my letter. It arrived in his office like 2 minutes after I did, after being somewhere for a month. It was just incredible.
And then he changed his tune.
So it's like, oh yeah, you're real, yeah. And I'll tell you what, we had the best time. He took the rest of the day off. He took me on a tour of the city, and he took me to his, I guess it was his parents' place that night. Really nice place. I think his dad was basically the ambassador to Bolivia.
Wow.
They were from another, I don't know if they were from Peru or Chile. I don't remember, but they had a big party. They treated me like a king, and so it was really had a happy ending, and we just had a terrific time together. But it goes to show you that timing is everything.
There you go. That's what we talk about saving in my sayings a while ago, saying. But, that is a really, really interesting story, because to have someone at the end of a trip like that can show you around the neighborhood always makes it better. You know what I mean? Someone to take
you. Oh, yeah.
Miss all the bad turns or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that is a real adventure.
Yeah. I mean, and I was just, I was floored when he's staring at me thinking, and he's saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, oh, damn.
For a minute there, it sounded like a plot for one of these spy novels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm here to. I'm your friend. I want to make a deposit for $35 million in your bank. Show me the vault.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, that's interesting. You never cease to amaze me. I swear. Every time you say you've done something different, unbelievable. So.
Yeah, it was a trip to remember. It really was. And the guy was so nice. He took me. This will probably get edited out. He took me to the airport the next day. Now, drugs were a big problem down there. That was a drug smuggling area. And he said, now they're going to take you into a little room, and they might make you take some clothes off, and they might do a body search. He said, it's not you. That's just what they do. Okay. He said, just be aware.
Did you have to experience that too?
They did some of that to me. Yeah, they did do some of that. But I passed the test with flying colors. So
what a brave soul you were. When you were young.
Yeah, about 100 years ago. Hey, speaker, you mentioned you threw out $35 million here. We got another offer. This is a letter from afar. You don't know about this yet. I just got this.
Addressed to the old bucks?
To the old bucks. I'll read some of this here. Hello, I'm Murray Sinar, staff member of Vaki Bank in Turkey. I'm contacting you in regards to a deceased client who died in an auto accident on the Istanbul highway in 2003. He was a prominent client of mine, and he deposited $36 million U.S. in the bank vault, okay, in his bank. And he said the guy died. Unfortunately, he has no kin. He had no will. And he says, according to the law, he can put out a request for kin, and if no request comes, and if there's no response in 30 days, then he's going to give the money to me. That would be to us, actually, to the bucks.
Oh, to the bucks. Okay.
So here we go. He goes on and on about blah 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 blah.
Is this nicely written?
It's very nicely written. It's a little harder to recognize the scam, other than it's outrageous. But the English is much better. All necessary requirements concerning the release of the funds have been put in place, and it is my intention to introduce this opportunity to you as the beneficiary. And kindly get back to me.
What do you have to do? Write back?
I just have to write back.
Uh-huh.
He says he's got the hours that he's available, Monday through Friday, 9 to 2. And he says, best regards, Murray Sinar.
So once you write back, he'll say, we need $2,000 US because the package is so big to ship it to you.
Yeah, there we go. I don't know. I think maybe we're going to pass on this one too.
Well,
you're liking it?
No, I'm finding it interesting that somebody is actually scouring for, scoffing around for email addresses or something like that.
Yeah. That's what they do. That's what they do.
Anyway, I would pass on that one, Dave.
All right. We'll pass on
I mean, even though you're somebody who would go to La Paz, you'd go to La Paz.
La Paz.
I bravely go to a place like that, and I'm still going to pass on this one. So.
All right. Sorry.
So you have more letters?
I have one more letter here. Yeah, one more letter. This is a letter from afar from Terry. It's concerning our episode on music. So he says, he or she says, this is bringing back memories. I saw Kansas 5 times at the Civic Arena. I think the whole city got high when they opened the roof.
I remember that place.
Remember that?
Yeah, I
As
remember
PS,
the arena.
I also saw Lake Street Dive. 2 thumbs up. So I guess my question to Terry is it possible that you were really in Kansas when this happened? That you were so high? I don't know. But it's a nice letter. It's a short letter.
Is that building still exists?
The Civic Arena does not exist, no.
The famous dome?
The opening dome building, yeah. It's gone.
Tore that down?
Yeah, they've got a big, much bigger hockey rink there now. Yeah, same area.
Well, anyhow, at least somebody thought enough that had a memory. That's the key.
Had a memory, yeah.
Yep, with an old friend or something.
Something.
But somebody mentioned to me that they listened to the Bucks and they said, I never heard of your song. I said, you never heard of Run, Red, Run? I said, that's why it's so memorable. You know what I mean? Well, it's like, you can Google it even, and you'll even see
tell
the
them to go to the liner notes. I tag that. You can click on that link and it'll bring up the video on YouTube. I think it's YouTube somewhere.
Of them guys singing
that actual song. Unbelievable.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So some of the things we say are true.
Some. Well, yeah. Of course, I don't know where you're.
You don't know where it's at. The lines are blurred between when we're thinking of novel things and new ideas and stuff like that, as opposed to the real world activities. So otherwise,
well, listen, I know, in a past episode you talked about being a math teacher. I believe you thought you were a pretty good math teacher, and I would believe that.
I was a math encourager.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, I've got a math puzzle for you here.
Okay,
it's for you, and if any of our 3 or 4 listeners out there want to submit an answer to this, they can do that.
This is legit too.
This is legit. Yeah. I just got this out of one of the kind of news aggregator newsletters I get. My wife and I tried to solve this puzzle. So here's the puzzle, and this is hats off to. I got this from Morning Brew. So here's the question: how much revenue did the Holland Tunnel collect in tolls in 2018? And then I give you some background here. They said, for some background, the tunnel runs between New York City and New Jersey and charges $15 a car in 2018. Easy Pass users received a $2.50 discount during peak hours and a $4.50 discount during off-peak hours. Plus, it only charges one way from New Jersey to New York City. Okay?
Okay.
Now this is they want you to do the math however you want to do it, and see how close you can come to the real number. And I've got the real number here, but I'm not going to give it yet.
And this problem would be solvable if you knew the number of cars that went through.
You make some assumptions, right? If you make some assumptions, couple assumptions you have to make. But what I found interesting is my wife's approach to the problem compared to my approach. So she's sitting there. She says to me, this is the first thing she says. She says, "How long is the Holland Tunnel?" And I said,
I'm not laughing at that. I'm
"You're
not
not laughing at her.
no.
You're
I
laughing
was
with
just
her."
I was chuckling about
Uh-huh.
my math abilities. Go
Uh
ahead.
huh. And I said, "Well, why does that matter? The cars go through the same bottleneck. The bottleneck is the pay station." She says, "Oh, no, no. It depends on how long the tunnel is." And I said, "How can it?" And she said, "Well, if the tunnel's long, it's going to hold more cars." Okay. Can't argue with that. And she said, "But if it's short, people outside the tunnel, they're going to be looking around at the sky. They'll be slowing down. They won't keep up with traffic."
So,
So,
so the volume will slow down or something
yeah,
there. Okay.
something like that. And I try to say, I don't know. I said, then she asked me another question. She said, "How long is a car? How long is a car?"
Okay, so you figure the length of the tunnel plus
Uh-huh.
the length of the cars, and then you know how many cars are in the tunnel,
At one time,
right?
sure,
And
you
then you
would.
then you multiply that by 365. Bada bing, bada boom.
Well, so I mean, but it's the same. It's the same discussion as the first question. Although, a length of a car might be slightly more relevant than the length of the tunnel. All right. So anyway, so I did my math. I did my.
What assumptions did you have to have on this? Just curious. You must have assumed
Well, the
something.
way I did it is I said how
1,000 cars a
many
day.
cars a minute, how many cars a minute would go through the Holland Tunnel. All right, would pay at the Holland Tunnel times the number of minutes per year times what's the average rate that they would pay. Somewhere between, it's going to be between 15
And 11 or
$15 and
something.
10.50. Okay,
Yeah.
so I
Okay.
made a couple of. That's the way I did it anyway.
Okay. So basically, your logic was that if you knew that so many cars could go through per minute, meaning there's only
Right,
six toll booths or one toll booth. We
doesn't
don't know.
matter, right? It's the total cars per minute.
Okay.
All right.
So you guess that total cars per minute has got to be 60, and then you went from there. Okay,
Yeah,
that's logical.
exactly. Yeah,
That's
something like
that's
that.
logical.
Okay.
I
So
never would have thought of that.
here's the scary part. Okay, I did my I did my detailed math. Okay, using my best logic skills. She did it however she did it.
Uh,
We both came within 5% of the correct answer. Jeez. I,
so I don't feel so bad math wise now, frankly. I think
yeah, that. Remember that old book, "Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus."
yeah.
I yield, man. I give up. We're definitely from different worlds.
Oh, definitely.
Somehow
That's
we're
because
coexisting here. It's great. I think that
you
was,
should have figured that out when I said I will go to Mars.
yeah,
I mean, I'll go to Mars.
yeah,
I wouldn't go to
yeah.
Venus, but I certainly go to Mars. That's cool.
Now,
So,
in her defense, now,
mm,
we both dabble in the stock market, all right,
hmm
and I do my detailed studies of the companies or the sectors and look into their markets and products and all this stuff and who's the management, blah blah blah.
hmm
She doesn't do any of that, all right.
hmm
She says, "Yeah, I look at this and this." She says, "I look at what the insiders are doing," and she says, "And I look at what do people need." So that's the only thing you need to know. Those two things. You know what? Over 20 years, she has absolutely crushed me. She is.
I was going to say she would have said, "I like their logo," and you say, "Really?
She
You
is
like
absolutely.
you like this just a window with a few colors in it? You know what I mean? Multicolored G. You think
Uh,
you like the logo."
oh man.
Anyhow,
So
I don't. I did. I think I might have told you one time when years ago there was a USA Today, or yeah, US. Well, that was a national paper. That still is, isn't it?
oh yeah. USA Today.
Up on a corner, I was reading the paper in the library in a little tiny town, and it said new company on the stock market, $6 it looks like a great deal, $6.49 a share or $6.20 a share, called Microsoft.
Microsoft.
And my
That's kind of a wimpy name.
Yeah, and I looked at that and said, man, there's just something drawn me to that little. I mean, this thing wasn't even 2 lines. I said, there's something drawn me to that. I said, I should just go ahead and buy $100 worth of that stuff for the heck of it. It'll never. What's going to amount to anything with that name?
Microsoft. It's not. It's a tiny name.
Yeah.
So
what's that mean anyhow?
What's
It doesn't
that
say
mean?
anything like, clear. What does that mean? What's
I'll
a
tell you what it
micro,
means.
and why is it so-
It means, if you'd have spent that $100, you wouldn't be talking with me today.
yeah.
You'd be sipping margaritas somewhere
We'd be talking to each other on the boat.
on the boat.
On my boat.
SS Dell.
I'm going to Dell.
Going to Dell. All right.
Oh, no more letters?
That's the only 2 letters. I had a couple other letters, but they were not newsworthy, I thought. So
okay. All right. No, and like I said, you're kind enough not to forward me anything that isn't clear, concise, humorous, or something. Otherwise, I don't.
I save you the trouble. I know you're a busy man.
That's right. I'm off the clock. Send that over to Dave in production.
He's paying you time and a half.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Well, this is Old Buck Dale.
And this is Old Buck Dave.
And we are
the 2 old
bucks.
Adios.